Hello everybody, welcome back to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, bringing you a very special video, and today I'm going to be doing a complete ranking on the Mission Impossible films. It has been 3 weeks since I saw Final Reckoning. I was very lucky to go back and see it at a press screening. I have since seen it once more at another IMAX. We've done 2 reviews on the channel for this, a massive spoilers discussion over 2 hours and a shorter spoiler-free one. And it's safe to say it's a film that's been in a lot of discussion over the last few weeks. And I thought, let's delay the ranking a little bit. I want a little bit more time to sit, to think about it, to think about some of the older ones, to reflect on Mission Impossible as a series. If this is the final film, which I do believe it is, then I wanted to approach this video with a finality involved in that. And I've come up with a ranking which I'm sitting with for now, which I'm happy with. And I'm going to add, this is a series which I love. I think this is a series which will go down as one of the greatest action series ever made, arguably the greatest action series ever made. If I'm totally honest, I think John Wick could nail that down, unless we are going to start counting all of its spin-offs as that, because Mission Impossible is quite locked in as the Tom Cruise series. So it's a really fun one, and looking at the evolution of these films across 3 decades is quite wild, and I don't think anything compares this in the aspect of the scope and scale of the stories getting bigger whilst you are keeping that lead actor, you're keeping those other characters, the stakes and everything changes with it. So safe to say it's a pretty exciting one. And before I start going through my ranking, I do want to hear from everybody at home, so please do comment your thoughts, your Mission Impossible ranking, your favourite films, maybe your least favourite films, whether you love them all. It's very difficult to rank things you really enjoy, even if there's one stand out to be at the bottom or 2 or 3. It's when you get to the nitty gritty, oh, can I put this over that, can I not? It's a bit of fun, and it's a nice way to end the Mission Impossible series on the channel. So that's going to be me doing that. I mentioned the series, there's a retrospective playlist now up that goes back to 2023. Every single discussion we've done on the Mission Impossible series, spoiler discussions on Dead Reckoning, Final Reckoning. It's also got our retrospective reviews on the first 6 films as well. We had some really amazing guests over that time, so it's nice to sort of put a neat bow tie on the Mission Impossible series, and I think a ranking is the best way to do that. And if I really start getting into it, I guess it's time. I have them on the screen in front of me. I believe I've come up with the order that is correct for me. I've took into account my experiences with the film, that being cinematic experiences, my enjoyment with it, my memories with it, the quality of the film as well, and how I feel about the film after multiple viewings or as time has gone by. Granted, of course, some of these films I've seen for well over 10 plus years, but some of these films I have obviously seen for like 2 weeks. I've seen them twice, so it's a really interesting one to get into the nitty gritty. That's why I do want to hear what everyone else's is. So that being said, let's get into it. So in 8th place, I have Mission Impossible 2. Mission Impossible 2 was always going to be in that last spot. I basically gave it away, didn't I, 30 seconds ago. It's a film I don't mind, but it's a film I consciously think is the weakest of the series. Whilst there is some incredible things in this, such as Tom Cruise's hair, the Limp Bizkit music, the fact that it's impossible to get the vinyl to complete the set on the camera behind me, it's very frustrating. But the film itself, I just don't think it pales compared to anything else it's done. It's nothing against John Lewis's direction. There's still some really cool stuff in this. And if I'm totally transparent, my favourite thing about this is actually the MTV Movie Awards skit with Tom Cruise and Ben Stiller, which is quite scathing. So swiftly moving on to number 7. I have a controversial choice here, and I've put in Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, which surprised myself. One of the films I was most excited to, I think, ever see at a cinema. I was so hyped up, and I was not disappointed either. It's a film that as time's gone by, I've sort of wailed off it a little bit more. Granted, it's been 2 years. The over-marketing of the stunts, no matter how incredible they were. Personally, I thought the stunts looked better in the behind-the-scenes than they actually did in the final film. I'm not saying bad CGI, but when you over-market a film on 2 primary stunts and they look different in the film, it's very hard to wrap the head around that. The handling of Rebecca Ferguson's character, which I really appreciate, but it feels like there's been writing all over the place. Whilst we do get some really cool stuff, we get some great action sequences, we get the great chase going around Rome. Obviously, we've got the group back together. An underrated sequence is the Abu Dhabi airport one, which I think is one of the best sequences from that film. But I just haven't really gelled with this as much. I still love it. And even though it's 7th, something's going to unfortunately come 7th because it's on a different level from the first. But what's really surprised me is the films that I'm putting after Dead Reckoning, if I'm totally honest with you all. I know people look at this series as like a half, some say from MI3 onwards, but for me, Dead Reckoning, I feel more inclined to go and watch Final Reckoning. And Whilst I think Dead Reckoning is somewhat elevated by Final Reckoning, because Final Reckoning is its own thing, it feels like it's starting from the beginning again. It's resetting up the entity in Gabriel. Just a lot of questions from Dead Reckoning which aren't answered in part 2, which maybe is a criticism of part 2, but I'm holding it as a criticism looking back. And obviously it's a film that dropped the part 1 as soon as it came out on Blu-ray. So 7th place we have that. 6th place we have Mission Impossible, the original where it started, a fantastic drama, Brian De Palma film. Without this we don't have this series, do we? And it is so inherently different to the films that have followed. I like in the recent ones they've brought in some of the characters successfully, maybe not as successfully. They've integrated the son of Phelps into it, the Shea Wingham role, and I love Shea Wingham, but I'm a big fan of this one. I feel it's a proper, not throwback, but when I watch this film, I'm watching a different type of Mission Impossible. It feels the most real, it feels the most authentic, it feels more of the espionage. We've got a mission that's gone wrong, you've been set up to be doing this, and this is what's actually gone on. It's got some incredible sequences, like all of them do, and I just think it's sick for my ranking. It's a lot of fun, but it's not the one I'm going to go and recommend to everyone if I was trying to get them into Mission Impossible. I guess you could say it's a bit like the From Russia with Love to the Goldfinger route. So then, in 5th place, I've got Mission Impossible 3, which is a J.J. Abrams film I absolutely adore. I'm not calling it the Goldfinger of this, but MI3 is where the series starts to come into its own a little bit more. There's been a break from the second one. It feels like it's gone more to its roots from the first, that it feels more of a drama where there are stakes involved. Obviously, you've got the rabbits for you have hands down the best villain of the entire series in this third film, the late great Philip Seymour Hoffman, a character and role which just hasn't been able to be replicated in any that have followed. There's been very good villains in other films, but there has not been one on this level, and you've just got some of the most entertaining ideas. J.J. Abrams bringing in the masks, bringing in Simon Pegg. It felt like they knew what they were doing from this point, and it's where J.J. gets that comparison, is that he's great at bringing back a franchise. Whether your thoughts on the sequel trilogy or something else, but he did it very well with Star Wars 7. He did it very well with Star Trek, and yeah, I love him for this. Without MI3, we don't get the films that followed after, which puts us in 4th place. I've gone with Mission Impossible Final Reckoning, which is a very interesting one. I think Mission Impossible Final Reckoning has the best stunts of the entire series. It has the best second and third act of the entire series, yet it's 4th on my list, and it is the opening act that lets it down. I don't mind the rehashes of what's gone on. It feels like the final film, and they've set that up well. They've earned the right for this to be the final film. They've earned the right for this to have the global world stakes. Everything's going to get nuked. Only Ethan Hunt can save humanity. And it's fantastic. It is just not better than the others I've put in front of it. There's no recency bias with this. I really don't see Mission Impossible 1, 2, 3 or Dead Reckoning eclipsing this in my mind. And there's nothing wrong being the 4th best Mission Impossible film, because it's still one of the best series ever made. But unfortunately for me, it does sit here. Again, my experience with this, it's still new. It may but enhance as the years goes by, but I just think, yeah, that second and third final act, man, if the first was on par with this would quite easily be number 1. Which leads me into a top 3. And in 3rd place, I've got Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, which is an incredible film. One of the best stunts of the series, which has been eclipsed in Final Reckoning with an airplane. The incredible opening, bringing in Ilsa Faust, bringing in new villains. Solomon Lane, of course, a standout in that. I know we can't talk about Alec Baldwin much these days, but even his role being brought into this to set him up down the line as this important character. And this is where Mission Impossible is really not finding its feet. It's in this insane run of, I'll say it, Mission Impossible 3 through to Final Reckoning is one of the best franchise runs I've ever seen in terms of quality, the difference with it. Of course, this is Christopher McQuarrie, the first directed Mission Impossible film he's done, and it's absolutely understandable why they did keep going back to him. His relationship with Tom Cruise, the stunts in this, the story as well, the fact that the final act, it isn't this big, humongous outreach, it's, Benji strapped at a bar with a bomb on him, essentially, and they've got to get to this place to stop him. It works so much better. The opening scene as well at the vinyl shop. I've got some really great memories of this film when it first came out. I remember having to go to some kids at the cinema being too loud because they were ruining it, and I very rarely do that. But yeah, Rogue Nation is a fantastic film and is very worthy, and I think this will be at the top of a lot of people's lists. And in second place, I've got Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, which is an incredible film. I've probably said that a lot in this video. Ghost Protocol, I did not think I was going to put this in second. I actually thought this is nailed on to be fourth, if I'm totally transparent. This is the first Mission Impossible film I saw. So I didn't get to see it at the cinema. I got a Blu-ray for it. A friend at school recommended it. I remember watching this, and obviously Tom Cruise at the time, I mainly know him from War of the Worlds and a few other films. I know him as Tom Cruise. I'm not familiar with Ethan Hunt. And for an entry point, I had the best entry point to the series. This is the Goldfinger to what the Mission Impossible films had. This is where everything came into its own, and I think there's got to be a round of applause for Brad Bird. I wish he could do more live action projects, because he was so good at this. And in the most bonkers way possible I can pronounce this, it felt like an animated film in live action. Not a remake, nothing like that. But some of the jokes, the humour, how he was able to transition from animation into live action, he did such an incredible job. The action sequences were really well choreographed. Of course, you've got the Burj Khalifa stunt. There was so many things going right for this. It doesn't feel like a reset. It feels like, great, we've sort of reset things with Mission Impossible 3. Now 4 onwards, let's really go for it. And I think this is where that Tom Cruise entity becomes his own, that this becomes, okay, what is Tom Cruise's big stunt for this film? What is he going to do next? How are you going to top the Burj Khalifa? How do you do that? And obviously, you know, I guess I could say they topped the stunt in Rogue Nation, but Ghost Protocol itself, it feels just about right. It feels like they're a neck and neck level between them, but either or could be top of this on a good day. But I just think the direction of this film's a little bit cleaner, and I think without this we don't get the films that followed, not for a financial perspective, but for what they know, what they want to do with it. And just the simplistic idea that this is the film where the tech consistently breaks, and it's such a great idea for them to work around, because it adds a different layer to, oh, this thing's in peril, but no, every single thing is going to go wrong that can go wrong. And how that works as the stakes leads for me for what I think is the second best Mission Impossible film. Slightly unlucky we didn't get a villain to match some of the others, but I understand. Which clearly leaves me going into first place, which is of course Mission Impossible Fallout, which is my favourite Mission Impossible film. I think it's the best Mission Impossible film, and I think it's one of the best action films of the last multiple decades, if I'm completely honest with you. Where do I even start with this? I can start before I even began. I went to the red carpet for this. This is where I got to meet Tom Cruise and most of the cast, so am I a little bit biased with that? Sure. But I've done that for Dead Reckoning too. But having that experience, the hype going into this, that oh my god, this series has just done, like, I've seen all of the films by this point too, but this is the one where I'm like, I've seen all of them, I'm really ready for this, I'm excited for this. The last two have been on another level to anything I've seen. How are they going to get better? And then we've got the likes of Henry Cavill reloading his fists, we've got the jump out the copter, we've got the double twist of Henry Cavill too. It is just the broken ankle being left in horrific, yet so entertaining at the same time. This felt like the Mission Impossible, that it felt the peak. It could have been the last film and it would go down as the last one, but when this film came out we all wanted more, and we've had more, and more has still been great. But it feels like the Tom Cruise trajectory of just insanity is when he's hanging on to the stuff off the bottom of the helicopter, the oil sequences, cutting the wire, the incredible Lorne Balfe soundtrack. I haven't even spoken about soundtracks in the other films, but yeah, man, Fallout's got everything and more that we ever want or need from Mission Impossible. It will stand the test of time. It's not even been 10 years yet, but I don't think any action film, maybe Top Gun Maverick, which of course is another Tom Cruise film, has really been on a calibre of this since it came out. And I think very few films are going to be like this, because we don't have the action stars to sit there and say, I'm going to do this, and we don't have the studios to say, yes, we are going to let you do this, here you go, here's the insane budget. It doesn't happen anymore, which is a shame. But whilst we have Tom Cruise still putting his body on the line for our entertainment, we're going to have that, and this film delivers on all of those fronts. So that is it. That is Mission Impossible Fallout, as what I think is my favourite Mission Impossible film, and the best. And I'm just going to recount this. So, in 8th place, I've got Mission Impossible 2. In 7th place, I've got Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. In 6th place, I've got Mission Impossible. 5th place, Mission Impossible 3. 4th place, Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. 3rd place, Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. 2nd place, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. 1st place, Mission Impossible Fallout. that is my ranking. I hope you've enjoyed it. I want to hear what your rankings are. I feel like most people are going to have the same number one. It's what's been spoken about a lot online in recent weeks, but I'm still curious, so please do comment them. It's been a very busy time on the channel. We've had so many TV shows going at the same time. We're heading into blockbuster season. I say we're in blockbuster season now. We've got new reviews coming. We've got Ballerina coming this week, How to Train Your Dragon next week. We've got another wrestling spoiler discussion on Sunday as well. It's a very, very busy time. We're going to have a lot more videos, a lot more discussions, and we are planning the big stuff for later on this year. We have announced obviously a Pixar retrospective, and there'll be more details on that in our Elia review later in June. So that is me rounding out from this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.